The team here confirming that the fly-around has begun. STS-132 pilot Tony Antonelli now at the controls from Atlantis' flight deck. He will begin to fly Atlantis around the entire circle of the International Space Station. The two vehicles are currently out over the Pacific Ocean. They are bearing down on the western edge of Mexico here in a few minutes, and they'll be crossing over North America as this fly-around takes place. Space Shuttle Atlantis and the International Space Station there staring each other down at a distance of 458 feet. Once again, pilot Tony Antonelli at the controls of Atlantis beginning this fly-around procedure. The first rays of sunshine there hitting the upper atmosphere of the Earth as the station and the shuttle are out over the Pacific Ocean. If you look very closely, you can see some of the jets at the back of Atlantis firing. If this STS-132 flight does indeed turn out to be Atlantis' final mission, this will be the last time that we actually get to see a full shot of the shuttle up in space from the space station cameras. The shuttle's now 506 feet away from the International Space Station. This fly around is continuing with STS-132 pilot Tony Antonelli at the controls. Antonelli is flying Atlantis up over the first quadrant of this entire circle that he will steer Atlantis. He's completed about the first 40 degrees. This is a view from inside Atlantis' orbiter docking system, looking back at the former home of the shuttle, pressurized mating adapter number 2. There on the left, you can see the Columbus laboratory. There on the right, very obvious, is the Kibo laboratory with its logistics module up on top. This is a view of Atlantis with its open payload bay doors. Down inside is the integrated cargo carrier, the only piece that Atlantis is bringing back home. The old batteries that the crew swapped out during 2 of the spacewalks of this mission are on the back side of it. The robotic arm there extended out over Atlantis' left side with the orbiter boom sensor system still attached to it, crossed back over the payload bay. Now the Pacific Ocean down underneath both Atlantis and the station at this point in time. The 2 vehicles are 212 miles. Continuing to pass to the northeast, they're approaching the western edge of Mexico here in about 2 minutes. Atlantis now 550 feet away from the station, continuing to rise above the U.S. segment. You can see all the modules there at the forward portion, the Columbus on the left, Kibo on the right, Harmony there in the middle. Moving backward is Destiny, Unity there where the truss structure crosses over. And you can also see the Russian segment there stretching back toward the back. Getting our first views now of the Soyuz TMA-18, which is mounted back there on the Poisk docking compartment. There at the back you can also see the Soyuz TMA-17. That is the one that is due to come back home to Earth coming up on June 1st. Expedition 23 flight engineer TJ Creamer, Soichi Noguchi, and Expedition 23 commander Oleg Kotov will crawl inside that vehicle which brought them up to the station about 6 months ago.
Go ahead, Hawk.
Is it cloudy outside today?
Dude, there's no windows in here. It was clear this morning.
Ask weather or something, because we're going to fly right overhead. We might get a pretty awesome picture.
We'll see what we can find out. And Atlantis, for downlink cameras, we're looking at the centerline camera right now. We're wondering if one of the payload bay cameras might have a better view.
They may be getting this one. Yeah, we're not sending you the center line. We're sending you the... Is that better? Arm camera? Ask them what they got.
Whatever you're sending us now looks much better. Thank you very much. And the weather report is...
There you go. That's shelter. I'm sorry, I stepped on you. You said partly cloudy?
That's right.
Sweet, thanks.
Atlantis now 587 feet away from the station, almost directly above it. You can see very clearly the entire 357 feet wingspan of the station's solar arrays. You can see the radiators there on either side, pointing back toward and running parallel to the Russian segment. And as we mentioned, looking almost directly down on the Soyuz TMA-18. And you can see the Soyuz TMA-17 back there at the back of the Zvezda service module. The two vehicles 212 miles above the Pacific Ocean, approaching the western edge of Mexico. It'll be going just to the north of Monterrey, and then crossing the border between Mexico and Texas, just to the northwest of Laredo. It'll be making almost a direct cross from the southwest to the northeast across Texas, just to the west of San Antonio over the Texas Hill Country, and then directly in between Dallas and Tyler over Interstate 20 before heading up over Arkansas. Atlantis now outside of 600 feet away from the station. This 360-degree maneuver with STS-132 pilot Tony Antonelli at the controls is continuing. This is Mission Control Houston, the western edge of Mexico coming into view now. The station and the shuttle 213 miles above the Earth. They're passing directly in between Mazatlan and Puerto Vallarta. It's a fairly cloudless day there on the coast of Mexico. The two vehicles continuing to pass to the northeast. They're heading toward Texas. Atlantis now 650 feet away from the station. The shuttle passing over the Russian segment. The two spacecraft just crossing the edge of Texas. They're passing over the cities of Uvalde, Kerrville, Fredericksburg, Killeen. It'll go over Corsicana right there on Interstate 45. And then cross right in the middle of Dallas and Tyler. Now 684 feet away from the station, Atlantis continuing to perform this fly-around maneuver with STS-132 pilot Tony Antonelli at the controls from the flight deck. The two spacecraft just passing from Texas into Arkansas, going over Hot Springs at this point in time. They will cross the very southeastern tip of Missouri and then head over parts of Kentucky and then into Indiana. Can I call it Missouri? This is a view from onboard the International Space Station that is part of the mobile base system. The communications and tracking officers here inside Mission Control are attempting to steer the cameras around a bit to see if they can capture Atlantis. The shuttle currently over the Russian segment, approaching the Zvezda service module, coming up in just a few seconds. Once again, this is sequential still video from Atlantis. This is what we get when we don't have high data rate communication with the shuttle. So you will see the image change every few seconds. Atlantis now 693 feet away from the station. Getting very close to being lined up with the very back end of the Zvezda service module and the Soyuz TMA-17 that is currently docked there.
Houston Station on 2 for PDGF still.
Go ahead, Tracy.
He's running, PJ's doing a nice job wrapping up this PDGF per the procedure, and as he's winding bubble wrap around the pin, it made me wonder where the actual cover is for the pin. As Wills and I practiced this in the pool many times, carrying this out, there was a protective, a hard shell, a clamshell cover that went over this pin to protect it. And it's my understanding that it's actually here on board somewhere, and we were going to install it prior to going out the door, and wondered why we're not finding that and installing it instead of trying to tape bubble wrap around it.
This is Mission Control Houston. Atlantis now crossing the 700 feet mark away from the station. There you see its current position. It is about to pull around the back end of the Zvezda service module, and then it continued down below the Russian segment. At that point, the crew will get their first views of the Progress 37 that is currently docked with the Piers docking compartment, as well as the newly installed Zarya, the Rosfit module that's on Zarya. Atlantis now almost directly in line with the Russian segment, the aftermost portion of it, the International Space Station. The distance now 638 feet. The crew on board Atlantis continuing to take some photos of the entire complex as they get a one-of-a-kind view during this fly-around. After this fly-around is complete, Atlantis will complete a series of separation maneuvers that will take it away from the vicinity of the station, the first of those coming up in 24 minutes. Atlantis coming into view now on the space station's cameras as it passes to the back and below the Russian segment. There you can see the Progress 37 that is currently docked with the Piers docking compartment. At the very back toward the lower center part of your screen, you can see the Soyuz TMA-17. And then there on the right is the brand new Rosvet module, which is now attached to Zarya. That, of course, came up with Atlantis during this mission, and the crew installed it as they were docked with the International Space Station. Atlantis and the station currently 221 miles out over the Atlantic Ocean, just almost directly to the south of Greenland. They will be crossing to the south of Ireland and to the south of England before heading out over the southern part of France. Atlantis currently 623 feet away from the station.